Hello and welcome. I'm glad you're here. I'm continuing my series on a heavy lift drone. I wanted to show tilt rotor. This is the propellers configured for vertical thrust. They'll take the drone straight up. These hydraulic cylinders can extend, and as they extend, they rotate the propellers over, and you get the propellers so they're creating horizontal thrust. And I think the right way to make transition work well is to have enough power that it takes 1400 horsepower for this drone to go straight up, and it takes 300 horsepower for it to go that way. And these two engines are 1000 horsepower each. So there's enough horsepower to simultaneously hold the drone up in the air and get it going at 125 miles an hour. And once it's moving at more than 62 miles an hour, the lift from the wings is equal to the weight of the drone, so you can do your transition without any trouble. And as you know, I always like to see where we are. What does Bing have for us today? Alstrom Point in Utah. And what's interesting about the drone I just showed you is that drone could, let's say the military had their outpost here and they needed to check something. It could fly over here and vertically land right there. And it could go back up in the air again and fly back. And this distance, it would be traveling at 125 miles an hour. Or it could have landed over here or there. This is, I think, a great military capability, and I think the military would be very intrigued with it. And I always do like to put this in. Hello and welcome. I'm glad you're here. Have fun. We're having a discussion. I have a YouTube channel. I advise you or invite you to subscribe. I think you would like it. I have a website, and there's a menu, and this is the section, and this is the name of the page about the drone. If you want to go to my website or my web page, I do always want to mention any physically real object has the potential to hurt somebody. If you are managing a physically real object, my advice is to manage it in a manner that is legally allowed and reasonable and safe. And if you cannot manage it in that way, my advice is do not create it as a physically real item. And so if you go to my website and then you go to Not About a Piston Robot, and then you go to Heavy Lift Drone, and then you go right here. This is a free for download. If you click on this, it will download this to your computer. And this PDF shows all the data that I'm using about this drone. And we'll show you a little bit about it. And it's 31 pages, but this is the math that shows how it works. This is some pictures of the drone. This is a weapon that the drone can carry. This is test equipment to prove that it will work. This is what I call the fat cord propellers, optimized for static thrust. This is the propeller that I created for the drone. This is the engine, the CTS 800, the drone, the power control system for it, and then all the calculations that demonstrate how it works. And I want the drone, we're in SketchUp now, the drone to be powered by hydraulic motors for two reasons. They have the power, but the other reason is I'm very worried if you have an 80,000 watt electric motor, it might emit radio frequency energy, which is detectable, which would make the drone detectable by the enemy, which means the military is not going to want to have anything to do with electric motors. And this is a thrust from the propeller versus time, and if you get far enough away, that's what it looks like. But we've already discussed, if you zoom in a little bit, it turns out that this is what the thrust looks like. And if there's say a 600-pound drone and there's 6 propellers, that's 100 pounds. 6 propellers times 100 pounds lifts up a 600-pound drone into a stable hover. But all of the propellers are actually making this variability of their thrust so that the central processing unit can keep the drone in a stable hover. And the next issue is if you get a lot closer to the thrust versus time curve, you will find that it looks like this. And I know you're going to say, so what is that exactly? And here you can see is a little horizontal. This is time. This is RPM. RPM and thrust are really the same. So this is where the RPM value is changing. And the vertical distance is the magnitude of the RPM change, and the horizontal distance is the time duration to make this change. And you might say, what is this coming from exactly? Remembering the only thing that you can change in the drone is the RPM of the propellers. All the rest of it is fixed. And so that makes me feel maybe I should talk to you a little bit about the cycle of how is the drone placed into a stable hover. And this is a cycle, so there's no exact starting point, so you just have to pick one. And so we'll go right here where all of the sensory devices compiled their opinion of what they're sensing and create a data point. And this is all time stamped from a clock being run by the central processing unit. And that entire collection of all the data points is made into a data file, and it is sent by the sensory system up to the central processing unit. And so I made the data green. The central processing unit takes that sensory data and creates the configuration or the status of the actual status of the drone. And it compares the actual status of the drone to what does it want the drone to be doing. And on the basis of that, the central processing unit decides what kind of action commands does it want to send out. And it sends out action commands that change the RPM of the propellers. So here come the commands. Here is them having their effect, and the cycle is paused. And the reason for pausing it is you have to give these commands time to create their effect. It doesn't make any sense to measure the status of the drone to come up with what you're going to do if the drone hasn't even done what you just told it to do. So it's a pause, and then the pause is changed or disabled when there's been time for these commands to have their effect, and the whole cycle starts again. And so sensory data is green, thinking by the CPU is blue, and evoking commands is yellow. So that's what this is: green, blue, yellow. And this is always the same size. You'll notice in this graph, these are always the same size, same amount of time. So this is a change of the propeller RPM of this amount in this amount of time. This is a change of the propeller RPM. It's the same amount of change, but in a much shorter amount of time. And these little decision-making time intervals are there throughout. And what we're going to do is take all of these out. Where is that grad student? That's what she's going to do. She's going to write a program that removes these intervals and measures the three things we want to measure: the initial RPM of the propeller, the magnitude of the change, positive or negative, and the magnitude of it, and the amount of time that it took for that change to occur. And you could actually, I think I drew one in, down here, where after making all of this decision, it decided it didn't want to change anything. And so that gives you a collection of data points. And since we're measuring 3 data points, the 3 data points are: what was the initial RPM, what was the magnitude of the change, and how long did it take to create that change. And this would be a heat map. When you turn it into a 3-dimensional structure, I don't know what that's called. It's a heat glob. But what it is, and remember, what we're measuring is what actually happened. We're not measuring what's possible. We're measuring what actually happened. And The drone is in a stable hover, and the grad student, she leaves it there for 3 or 4 hours and continues to measure these RPM values, the 3 parts: RPM initial, RPM change, RPM interval, and creates this portrait of what was it that the drone was doing to be stable. And I have in here these holes, and you might say, well, what is that? And what it is just by random variability, this particular magnitude of RPM change at this particular initial RPM and this particular magnitude of time interval, that just was never used for this collection of data. It just was never used. And so there's a hole there. And my suggestion is going to be to interpolate this and convert it into a smooth portrait of what we are calling what's necessary for this drone to have stable hover. And I'm going to say with a small drone, they're going to have higher RPM values and bigger changes. With the large drone, the equipment is so much bigger. The inertial momentum for rotation is so much larger that all of these numbers, that the magnitude time interval increases because it takes longer to change it, and and also the magnitude of the RPM change becomes less because this equipment is bigger and it's harder to get it to change. And the next thing we want to do, so this one is a graph of what can the electric motor do. But remember, what we care about is what did it really do. All right? And here we have taken that. Where is that grad student anyway? She is going to go out here with the hydraulic motor and generate the hydraulic motor at a specific initial RPM, a specific magnitude of RPM change, and a specific time interval, and make the hydraulic motor do that. And then she's going to change the parameters to make the hydraulic motor do this one. And she is going to recreate this entire curve by doing that with her programming. And you might say, how is she going to do that? And what she does is she takes her valve that's controlling the RPM of the propeller and brings it to this initial value of RPM. And then she looks at this magnitude of change and she tells the valve to change the initial RPM to the new RPM by this magnitude of change, and to do that in this amount of time. And she picks by iteration a movement of the stem of the valve to do that. And if it does it, she's done. If it doesn't do it, she tries again. Remembering that this valve is digitally controlled. So where is that grad student anyway? She is going to write a program where this valve places these dots for this creation of this entire portrait of this activity of the drone with the hydraulic valve. And it does it all by itself. She just sits there and watches. And what she will have done is created a demonstration that the hydraulic valve can create the same portrait of drone propeller control that was done by the electric motors. And since the electric motors had the drone in a stable hover, that means that the hydraulic valve can keep the drone in a stable hover. And one thing I wanted to mention, is possible that maybe the maximum values that the hydraulic valve can create is not as big as the maximum values that the electric motor can create, but it doesn't matter. All that matters is the hydraulic valve had enough control of the propeller to have the propeller data points duplicate what was happening with the electric motor. And you might say, well, how does that valve do that? And that is the next thing I'm going to discuss, because she is banging on the wall next to the clock, which means I'm out of time. So we'll start another video.